Welcome to today's edition of WooNews TV, where we bring spiritual concepts into the mainstream to make them more relatable and applicable to you. Our intention is to bring you some resources and information to help expand your own toolbox to create a better life and a better world. Today, I am super excited about my guest, Coach Q, or otherwise known as Quentin Pullen by his mother. Let me read you a little bit about Coach Q here. I'm so used to calling you Q, so I'll try to keep the coach in there.
Okay.
So Coach Q is an athletic performance coach and therapist. He's a Marine. He has a BS in business management and telecommunications. He grew up in Atlanta. He lived in California for 30 years, you said?
Yeah, 32 years, yeah.
One of the reasons I wanted Coach Q to be on the show was not only is he and his wife two of my favorite people, and I just adore them to pieces, but Coach Q found me a couple of years ago on a podcast, and he reached out for a session. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I don't recall this right. He reached out for a session because he had some unique things happening to him, and he didn't have any explanation of it, didn't know what it was, wanted some context and actually some confirmation that he wasn't nuts, right, Coach Q?
Well, I was trying to, like I said, get some context from it and understanding. I didn't think I was nuts. I just was trying to understand more. I think that's the best way to put it, you know?
So the nuts was my own projection. Sorry about that. So what I wanted him on here because he has a lot of wisdom throughout his life. The way he lives his life, I think, is something we should all imitate and be inspired by. Just his philosophy and the way he moves through life. And because as we talk about these gifts that he realized that he had and understood better, you might see yourself in him. You might see some aspects of yourself. And in fact, I'd like to have other people on as well and have them talk about their own discoveries of their unique gifts. Yeah. Because again, you might see some of you in Coach Q or other people to help you get a better understanding of your own. So let's first talk about you. Give us a little background on you, Coach Q.
I think if I had to describe myself, I live in the moment, and that's it's quite an accomplishment if I do admit it myself. Being in the moment gives you the opportunity to take each moment of time as its own entity and respond or react or whatever you need to do in those moments. It also gives you the ability to detach quickly and to assess yourself a lot more. And so, you know, I always like to tell people that I'm a growing being. I'm not the same person today as I was yesterday. Look at me 10 years ago, and it's interesting being home around family and classmates who knew me growing up here in Atlanta, but do not know me in my adult life. It's really funny to see how they react to the person that I am now. A lot of it is anticipation for who I used to be, things that used to happen in the past. And even I don't identify with a lot of those things. And a lot of those things I've put out of my memory. So some of those things are foreign to me, and I don't readily recognize those things right off the bat. So when people ask me about myself, I always like to say that I'm a child or a human being of the universe, and that's it, you know?
So, okay, your comments back to your process of living in the moment and being in the moment, what started that for you? Did you have an aha moment? Did you have a wake-up call? What started that? Because that's not something people typically just do.
You know, we've all heard of the catchphrase, live in the moment, you know,
right.
That and the other.
I just wrote an article about that, as a matter of fact.
And, you know, people like to say that they do, but if you're looking forward or looking back, how are you present, you know? And being present in the moment for every moment, you can't have it both ways. You can't be present and then looking to do or be somewhere else or even trying to plan for something else, because, you know, no moment, you know, people say tomorrow's not promised to anyone, but no moment is promised to anybody, you know. Right. Your life can change in an instant, you know. And so being present in those moments gives you a better appreciation, I feel, for what you're actually experiencing, you know. I had this instance where I was into meditation, and I do meditate and I do pray. But I was in a meditation and I was so deep into my meditation that it felt like somebody pulled my spirit away from my body. And so my body is here on earth, but my spirit, I could see that I was floating above the earth. It felt like I was suspended in space. And I was really freaked out. I was scared. I was scared I was going to fall back to earth. But I'm up there and I'm experiencing this. And I'm there for a while, but most of what I was experiencing during that experience was fear, and so I was like, please get me back down to my body, right? And so when I came back to, I realized what was happening. And I was like, man, I want to go back, And so I haven't been able to quite experience that same thing again on that level, but I've had other instances where I've felt similarly to that experience. And so, I looked it up and it's called an out of body experience. And I
Right.
didn't know before that what I would be experiencing and what it was. And when I started reading up on it again, it was like not too many people ever experience something like that, in their enlightenment.
While
And
they're
so,
alive, right?
right,
They
and
come back to
so,
tell about it.
yeah, and so I was like, man, this is incredible. So, I think that experience gave me a deeper appreciation for what it really means to meditate and to be quiet in your mind and quiet in the space that you're in. And when you allow yourself to be that quiet, it's amazing how many things you can feel and experience when you're that quiet. My body was quiet, my mind was quiet, and it just felt like I was in a different realm, to be honest with you. And so it took me to a place where when I look at my everyday life and every breath that I take, I'm like, this is phenomenal, So I want to feel every single breath and every single instant that I'm dealing with. So living in each moment and being present for those moments are the things that make me feel I'm gonna say more enlightened. I'm not gonna say spiritual because I don't think that spiritual is the right context for what I for trying to explain what I feel.
Expanded your consciousness, expanded your awareness.
Absolutely.
So that meditation was your catalyst for practicing living in the now.
Yes, it was what I needed at that point to feel more of the meditation and to be a lot more present. Absolutely.
Okay, so you mentioned your practice. When I use the word spirituality, a lot of it is spirituality, but it's also the purpose of the show is people can see that this is really just also personal growth, self-improvement tools and information, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. Some of it's God sourced, it's ultimately that, but you can put it wherever you want to put it. But you had mentioned your part of your practice includes prayer and meditation. When did you start that in your life?
Well, this
Or was it
so
the
I grew
childhood
up.
thing, Coach Q?
Well, so the funny thing is, I grew up. My father was a Christian pastor. I
I
grew up
didn't
in.
know that.
Yeah. I grew up in church my entire life. I used to
Okay.
sing in the choir. We used to go here in the South, man. If you're involved in church, it's almost a daily thing where you're someday during the week, you're going to go to choir practice, Bible study, Sunday service, Wednesday service, whatever. Man, I spent so much time in church that, the praying thing was something that we were taught to do. So it was talk to God, ask God for this, thank God for these things. And, I always had questions to my father, to the pastor of our church back then of why, and so they would say these things and I would ask why often, and so when I came into adulthood and left home at 18 years old, I could not wait to go and experience a different church and a different type of religion. And I actually, in my military time and my time away from home, I went to almost every single church or synagogue or temple that I could, just so I could see, okay, what are they doing that they don't do in those other places, and why do they feel this way and other people don't feel that way? And so
You were a student of religion,
yeah, well,
the
yes,
rituals of it, and
yeah, I wanted to know. I was curious about the why of it, and the how people can be so certain of these things. And so, I wanted to, it was for my own benefit of, okay, how can you be certain when you don't know certain things? And so that curiosity got me reading religious texts, I read I'm not going to say almost, I have read every single religious text just so I could understand um, what's the underlying meaning for all those things. And they all parallel each other so well. For me, it connected things together where I started understanding that prayer is meditation, and so, you can speak or not speak. And I think most times in meditation, we're taught that we shouldn't speak, that we should clear our minds. And in prayer, we're taught to, talk to God or, whatever higher power you believe in. I've done so much of removing labels from the feeling of that I have on a daily basis that it's it's not conflicting to me. It's comforting for me to be in this space where I don't have to feel like I need to be a certain way or do a certain thing.
That's interesting you say that, because I think that is so, I think labels have become a huge problem for our society now.
Absolutely.
And what's going on in the world and the various sides to things and how they play each other, and the immediate labels and how limiting it is. It limits progress. It limits connection. It limits and it's judgmental, just so limiting. So I imagine you apply that everywhere. That's just,
yes.
They don't have that filter of label.
No, and it's difficult to be in spaces where people are so convinced and so convicted in their beliefs that they don't want to understand or open their minds to other possibilities.
Based on a label.
Right. Well, I think it's more than that. I think it's a feeling of wanting to belong.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You read the teachings of Buddha, and he talks specifically about detachment, not attaching yourself to things, and how the more we attach to things, the more we suffer, and so these people that are trying to belong so hard, you look at their life and they go through a lot of suffering because they think that there's some other paradise, and the way that I look at it as I'm experiencing paradise right now. Every single moment is a beautiful moment. And it's how you are prepared to deal with those things mentally. And so if you're strong enough mentally and you're at a good, calm place and you're present, it's going to be a lot more fruitful for you. It's going to be a lot more of a calm for you. And you don't feel necessarily like you need to belong or be in any particular place at any particular time,
So I'm going to interpret that. Tell me if you agree or not.
Okay.
That's more of a state of oneness, of connection with source, then therefore everyone, because there's no division, there's no separation. And I've been studying about that a lot and aspiring to connect to that more regularly.
Yeah.
And not in the whole, we're all one. Yeah, we are, but it's really, and when you have that connection to oneness, and when you're able to tap into that and recognize that, like you're doing, it sounds to me, Coach Q, you're not alone. You belong. That you'll have that sense of belonging already. You don't need to seek it externally. It's fun to have those external examples of it and things to play in, since we're human, but it's intrinsically,
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in nature. That's something that is a daily. You talk about daily practices, right? Um, I don't. There is not a single day that I don't go outside. And that's here in the South, man. We have seasons. We have spring, summer, winter, and fall. Except fall seems to be throughout every season. Because everything is always falling off the trees. But I make it a practice to be outdoors and to feel, so it could be 20, 30 degrees outdoors, and I'm going to go out there and breathe and feel. And, my favorite time to go out is during the golden hour, where you can, the vibrations are so strong. And the sounds of nature, that, the way that you feel, I actually get a little bit of a buzz to my body when I'm outdoors and experiencing those things. And so
golden hour is sunrise or sunset?
It's both.
Okay. My favorite is sunset.
Yeah, it's both. So if you go outside and you look at the lighting at that time, it has a gold hue to sunrise and sunset, and the vibrations of the earth, the frequency of the earth is actually stronger at those times in the day, so if you go out and experience that, it's mood altering. You feel, I don't care what mood you're in, if you go out and you just sit at that time quietly, you feel better. I mean, I know I do, so I can't speak for everyone, but I think there's such power in nature and feeling connected to nature. Like I said, I don't like to use the word belong, because it's searching for something to cling on to, but being out there and just allowing yourself to be yourself and to be the being that you are, and appreciate everything that's around you and everything that you're feeling. I think it's a goal I think that people are searching for, and so I don't know, I can't pinpoint any particular point in my life where I reached out and that was there, but and I still feel like I'm an infant growing into what I'm supposed to be and how I'm supposed to be in the world, and so it's a journey. How about
Practice.
that?
It's
Yeah.
definitely a practice. So when you're
Yeah.
talking about nature, how I see that is nature is the one thing on earth that is uncorrupted.
Yes,
It is
absolutely.
pure from God, source, creator, whatever you call it. It's the one thing that, I mean, we as humans corrupt it, but it is naturally uncorrupted.
Yeah,
So it just it puts you back in that
yeah,
pristine state. It changes your
yeah.
energy, puts you back in that pristine state. Do you ever listen to binaural beats when you're out there? Do you ever listen to the Schumann resonance, the think 733?
I try. So here's another story. My wife we're avid hikers. And the first time that my wife invited me to go hiking, I said, no, I hiked enough in the military. I don't need to go out in nature and hike. And she finally talked me into it. And I go out for a hike and I have on headphones and I'm listening to music as I'm hiking. And it dawned on me after a few times of doing that I really couldn't hear. I could hear my music and my mind was on the music, but I was defeating the purpose of why I was out there. And so I started leaving my headphones at home. And nowadays I can't even think of taking music or anything foreign into nature, because it speaks to you. It's that resonance that you're looking for is already there. It's already there. You just have to quiet your mind enough to feel it. I have a practice that I do when I'm hiking, and I do this with our groups that we take out. We will go to an area and we'll go around water, around rocks and trees and nature, and I have everyone get as quiet as they possibly can, have a seat, and go through breathing, right? I go, I want you to breathe, quiet your mind, and don't touch anything electronic. Don't allow yourself to let your mind wander and drift. Just appreciate, use all of your senses to feel, smell, taste, touch what is around you at that point. And I cannot explain to you how different people come back from those experiences every single time, And so, just out of a little bit of a useless knowledge, the frequency of the earth is 7.83 hertz. Okay.
Right. 83. That's
so
right.
7.83 hertz. So that's not something you can readily hear with your ear, and it's not something you can readily feel. Ironically, the frequency of the human body is exactly the same. Okay. So when we're out in nature, yes. So when we're out in nature and we're meditating, especially on a rock or something that's embedded into the ground, we have this grounding effect where our frequency resonates with the earth's frequency. And a lot of times you feel this vibration, right?
No separation.
And yeah. So that vibration only comes when you are absolutely quiet of mind, body, spirit, the whole nine, man. And so you feel this. And I've seen people get to the point where their body is starting to sway a little bit because the frequencies are matching. And so it's an incredible experience. And it's something that once you feel it and you know it, it's like you look for that when you go out there and you tune into it every single time.
So well, a little side note here for the audience. If anyone's familiar with binaural beats, I'm going to do a show on that someday. Binaural beats. You can go to YouTube. You can do a search for binaural beats for earth frequencies, Schumann resonance 7.83. And you can find some of those. Also, you can do in your house. You want to put earphones on and listen to them in your house. And that also plugs you into the earth frequency. Not quite like this, but it's another way to, when I use them, it gets me grounded very quickly.
Yeah. Now, here's another thing I'm about to blow your mind with. If you go onto your Amazon machine and put in Schumann frequency generator, they have a device that is an amplifier of 7.83. So on the side of my bed, in my bedroom, almost in every single room in my house, I have one of those, you know?
Oh, okay.
And it's one of the most fascinating things to me is everyone that comes to our house says, man, you guys, your house feels so calming. And I'm like,
you guys are also calming.
Yeah,
you and Nora are calm people.
Not the cat though, right? The cat is out of his mind.
Well, somebody has to be a little crazy in the house, right? Yeah, but some energy. Yeah, that's crazy.
But that thing, that device, it's, you know, I recommend it to a lot of my patients and stuff when they can't sleep. I go, if you can't sleep, take your cell phone, put it in a different room, buy this grounding device, put it in your bedroom, next to your bed or under your bed, and let's see how you sleep. You know, we have a Airbnb here on our property, and we have those under the bed. And not a single person who stayed in that suite has said that they had a bad night's sleep. Everyone comes out and go, man, that bed is so comfortable. I'm like, it's not the bed.
That's cool. I think you told me about those one time. I need to order those myself.
Yeah, it is. There are things that when you know they work, and you don't have to like justify it to anybody, but you feel these things. And so that's one of the things. It's like, oh wow, you know, I bought them, I've had them for years. I cannot say that I've had a bad night's sleep in years, you know. When we got here to Atlanta, I put one under my mom's bed. My mom told me that she hadn't had a good night's sleep in 15 years since my father passed away, you know. And so the first thing I did was I put one of those under her bed, and she says, that's the best night's sleep I've had in 15 years, you know? And so I left her with a device, and she's not had a bad night's sleep as well, you know? So that's something that people can get, and it'll help with your meditational practice. It helps ground you a lot quicker and a lot better. So yeah, that's
to be more present.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's talk, Coach Q, about these unique experiences that you've had that we talked about on our first session that day.
Like you said, I was listening to you on a podcast talk about, you know, intuition and things like that. Now, I will go back and say this, and like I said, I don't like reaching to the past or to the future because those are not attainable or present things. But I've always been told since I was a kid that I had this ability to see things and to know things that I wasn't supposed to, you know, like I've always had a connection with, I guess I would say the outer world, you know, and spirits, more so that, yeah, more so people, you know. So when I heard you on this podcast, I had a dream, and the dream that I had was of a plane crash, and it was of a lady who died on the plane crash, and it shook me. It shook me so bad, and it shook me to the point where you were talking about something, and I came to tears, and I was like, wow, you know, that's just stupid. Why are you crying listening to this lady talk about intuition, you know? But it was that my soul and my spirit resonated so hard with listening to what you were saying. I was like, I got to reach out to talk to you because, you know, people who are at a different point of enlightenment, and I'm gonna use that term because I believe that every single human being has intuition. It's just tapped into or not tapped into. Right. It's levels and you know, experiences that we have. So for me to be able to connect with you in that way, and then for us to talk, and when we did our meeting, it was like we were ancient souls that knew each other. We were such at ease with each other, and you know, it was amazing to me, and it after speaking with you, it put things in perspective, and it also let me know that, yeah, I have this ability that I don't, I sometimes don't like to claim it, but it's there, and it rears its head um, in different ways at different times, and it's not something I can control, you
Can you
know.
give us an example for people to perhaps relate to, or give something tangible to this a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, if you can. But I know, as I recall, you
Yeah.
see and you feel energies very strongly. Is that
Yeah.
right? Remind me. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. It, I had a friend that was sick that I didn't even know was sick, you know, and but that person kept coming to my mind, and it was mental health issues. And to my mind, it kept saying, check on this person, make sure that person is okay, you know. And I I neglected that. I didn't call him. I kept putting it off, and I went on to social media and found out he had passed away. He had committed suicide, and it it blew me away because um, I I kind of foresaw it, you know, and the reason that I wanted to that my spirit kept telling me to reach out to him is because I'd been helping him with some things that he'd been going through, and I hadn't spoken with him in a minute, and when I felt it, it it didn't feel good, you know. It didn't put me in a good place where I wanted to acknowledge that gift. You know, it almost felt like I didn't want it because my friend got taken away from me, you know. And so I saw all that stuff coming up, and it made me realize that what I was feeling was a real thing, and um, that I shouldn't take it lightly. That has happened to me on more than one occasion in my life where I've seen things like that, premonitions, things that I saw that were gonna happen that hadn't happened, that did happen, and it continues to leave me in awe because I, you know, if you talk about a higher power, I think to myself, why would God want me to see that and feel that, you know? And so
When you can't
that's
do
where,
anything about it. I've asked that
yeah,
question myself.
yeah. And so that's why I say, well, maybe there is no God. Maybe we're all just matter and energy. And the way that we're reacting is the way that the energies are supposed to react. Because if you look at anytime you put power to something, it has a reaction, right? So, and sometimes it's unpredictable. So I don't live in that school of thought where there's a higher power judging us, judging our actions, and directing us of what we should do, you know, necessarily, or these ritualistic things. What I look at it is, we have the human body has all these nerve endings, right? These feelings, these things that almost no other being has. And so the way that we go throughout life is based on feeling, based on what our energy is being directed towards, you know. And so it can be directed in different ways at different times, and it's hard to explain or put a tangible on when, what, why, and where, you know. And so I just, like, you talk about being present. I think if you're present, you know, you don't have to worry about those other things, you know, or even think about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
So in addition to spending time in nature, give us a couple more suggestions on what people can do right now to feel better, be better, do better.
I believe this is a great question, and it took me. My immediate thought is give back. You know, the greatest feeling you can have is when you do something for someone and you see that it benefited them in a positive way and it made their life a little bit easier. You know, I mean, I spend a lot of time in charity, and I do it in silence because I believe that when you do it in silence, it's from a place, an honest place. I don't feel like people who do kind things need to go out and brag about it or talk about it unless they're looking for some self-gratification or something like that. So, one of my wife and I, we all, and I tell us this, we almost give back so much to a fault where we take away from ourselves, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I at the end of the day, when I look at the things and the way that I lead my life in charity, I go, that's the ultimate, because no material thing that we have is going to go anywhere with us, when we're gone, when life leaves our body. So whatever I can do to help other people, I'm going to do that thing. And so that's part of how I live. I have my career. That's how I have my home. That's how I treat my friends and family. I'm of service unconditionally.
And it's also the law of reciprocity. Not that that's what's a motivation for you, but you literally get what you give. Maybe not
Yes.
dollar for dollar, moment to moment, act for act,
Right.
action for action, but
Mhm.
you give, so you're getting more joy, you're getting more fulfillment.
Yeah.
The law of reciprocity. You get
Yeah.
more in your relationships back for what you give to your
Yes.
relationship.
Yes. I think inevitably we're all living the pursuit of happiness. Some people don't know how to be happy, to be happy with where you are, what you are, and what you're seeing in your daily life. A little bit back to you were talking about our political climate, our world climate, and things like that. People have to understand that the things that they read or hear or see on the television are not a direct representation of their life. So if you have an analysis of what your daily life is, look at that and don't compare it to any other thing. Look at what is going on in your life. And if you can sit in your life and say, I am happy, I am making a difference, I am giving back to the earth what the earth gives to me, then you can be in a peaceful place. And I think everything else lines up with that. But when you're struggling and you're suffering and you're seeking and you're trying to find a place for yourself, that comes with a lot of struggle and suffrage and things unnecessarily, So
Ultimately, that place comes internally.
yes,
Internal place, not an
Mhm.
external place. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, but it manifests externally, because
Right.
the way you feel internally, it's hard for you to not manifest that externally,
Our inner
So
world creates our outer world.
our word, exactly. Yes, so
Okay, so that giving back, being in nature. Got a third one before you sign off?
the third one is absolutely take care of your body.
Okay.
It's being down here in the South. The South is the Bible Belt, man, and everybody talks about their religion. And I will always go back and say, the Bible says that the body is the temple, right? How many of you will go into your church and just throw a bunch of trash, kick the windows out, all those things, don't take care of the structure, don't pay the bill? How many people will actually do that? So if your body is a temple, why are you doing that to your body? So feeling good in your body, it manifests your outward stuff, right? So I believe that it's all a combination. If you're mentally, physically, and spiritually feeling good and connected, it's hard for you to be unhappy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mhm.
Okay, Coach Q, how can people find you? I know you have an Instagram channel that you do lots of fun videos and things on.
Yeah, I have not been as active on Instagram lately because I had an accident on March 1st, and I got injured, and I was like, wow, injuries are a foreign thing to me because I stay so balanced. But on Instagram is Q_the_coach. My website is qthecoach.com. My YouTube channel is the same, Q the Coach. If you go onto Google and you put Q, the letter Q, THE Coach on there, you'll find everything about me, the things that we're doing now. We also have a nonprofit where we're trying to help people in our general area become those three things: more physically fit, more spiritually fit, and more mentally fit. So we're getting ready to launch our summer camp programs for young adults coming up here in the summer once school is out. And we're hoping to branch this out into some adult programs as well. We
Nice.
do have our adult coaching and things like that. And we try to introduce all those concepts in our training. So it's not just you're coming in the gym doing a workout. We actually will take
Right.
you out in nature. We'll actually talk to you about other educational things to keep your mind open and fresh.
Well, and I know Nora has her food account now
Yes,
on
yes,
Instagram
ma'am.
that I
And
that you
we're
follow.
gardening. We're gardening, man. That's
I'm
hey,
trying to do that too. It's a little hard out
there's
here in
a
Arizona, but
we read a book called Ikigai, and Ikigai is an interview of centenarians, right? And the one thing that all these people who live to be 100 years old, the one thing that they all have in common is a garden, you know.
oh,
And it
interesting.
was like,
Okay.
wow, you
So
know,
number 4, get a garden.
get a garden, right? Or get some plants, man, and put your hands in the dirt, put your feet in
Yeah.
the dirt, and let yourself be reconnected. You know, the beginning of the Bible, it talks about Adam and Eve were created from mud and this, that, and the other, right? Well, if that's what you believe, and mud is human, go play in that stuff, right?
Right.
Get up
Right.
and let your
Reconnect
so
with the mud.
yes, 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 yes. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate you having me on. This is fun. I apologize if I didn't you know, some of the constructs that we put onto our being, our spiritual being, if you would. I kind of stepped away from those, from thinking that way, because I want to be as present, excuse me, as present as I can be, and as connected to what I'm feeling at those moments, you know. So I'm
Which connects us more automatically to source.
to everything else. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
You know,
yes,
no,
yes.
you were exactly what we needed. So thank you so
Thank you.
much for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate
Good to
being
see
on,
you as
man.
always.
You as well. You as well.